Okay, so now we're going to talk about the ICP enrichment analysis service. This one is, like I said in the last video, very similar to HubSpot Cleanup. If you haven't seen the HubSpot Cleanup video, I think that is one you should watch before this because I spoke about the bulk of the work, and I'm only going to speak about the differences between the HubSpot Cleanup and the ICP enrichment in this video because most of the work's the same. So I'm just going to speak about the new additions for ICP enrichment. Essentially, all of it's the same. We're scoping everything out. We're defining all the properties. We're building the clay tables. We're building the calibration. We're testing. And the main difference is that the ICP enrichment is going to have more properties for the most part because you are willing to, when you're doing an ICP study of your customer base, so you want to know as much as possible about that customer and what makes them a good customer. So if you have 30 different data points and you have 100 customers, so now you have 3,000 different data points you can use to, I guess, group and segment and understand what makes the best customer the best customer, and how can we go after more of these customers. If you want to have an accurate study, though, you have to have, first of all, enough data, like enough different properties, as well as accurate information so you trust it. So when you're building an ICP enrichment workflow, the main thing to keep in mind is you're going to do more enrichments. Like I was saying, you have 3,000 different data points to go off of when you have 100 customers or, 100 customers and 30 properties per record. It's going to cost more per record. It's going to be more expensive in terms of data and a bit more in terms of time for the service to build all the enrichments, but it's often worth it. And then we can apply these to the customer record in HubSpot as opposed to everybody else. That's actually the only difference between this and the broader data set. In fact, when we first started selling the service, I was only advertising a HubSpot cleanup, like a broad cleanup. And then one of our first customers, Tracks, that we published a case study with, was doing an ICP enrichment. And I started hearing that word a lot in sales calls. It was like, some customers were like, I want to do a HubSpot cleanup, and some were saying ICP only. And practically speaking, it's like almost the same exact thing. Like I said, the only difference being more enrichments and maybe more like multi-step enrichments that are more complicated and more expensive, but it's basically the same thing. And I was like, why would we? It's the same thing. But I realized from a marketing perspective, if you say ICP versus cleanup, it's two different things, two different people. From a service perspective, it's very similar, but that's how business goes. It's just about positioning. So in our internal system, what we do is we use our dashboard. We can have two different account models. If somebody wants to do a cleanup for their whole CRM and do an ICP enrichment for their customers, we build the general cleanup. And then we can just say, if it's a customer, also do these 10 extra things. And then we just look at the lifecycle stage and the company record or the contact record in HubSpot and apply the enrichment model depending on what we see. So that's high level what ICP enrichment is. Now I'm going to move on to inbound lead enrichment and ongoing automation.